In a quiet hour, when the sky leans lavender, Heracles steps into the hush of the land. His sandals touch the earth without sound, as if even the dust has learned not to stir. Laurel trees arch above him like soft-voiced guardians, their leaves whispering secrets to one another in the breeze. There is no horn to herald him, no eyes to follow. Only stillness greets his arrival. He walks not with the burden of a task, but with the ease of someone listening, not to words, but to the rhythm of a place. Ahead, the hills are coated in morning light, brushed in gentle gold. And below them, the world stretches in patient breath. A plain speckled with grazing sheep, the slow nod of poppies, and a path barely worn with time. All around him, the land, dreams, the fields of Elis have always known many footsteps, kings and poets, farmers and gods, but none have lingered long in the breath between stone and sky. Heracles does not hurry. He moves as if following the shadow of his own thought, allowing the scent of crushed mint and time to lead him, not the weight of instruction. In this moment, there is no task, only presence. Far in the distance, a soft curvature marks the rise of ancient walls, not temples nor palaces, but something simpler, broader, older, the stables. But they do not call to him like monuments. Instead, they wait in the haze, like old trees who no longer seek visitors, but still remember names. The breeze shifts slightly. A single olive leaf falls, twirling once before landing on the path ahead. He pauses, watching it settle, and in that motion, the story truly begins. Not with a struggle, not with a command, but with a pause. With attention, Heracles continues onward, his figure half-shadowed beneath the swaying green. The scent of loam rises faintly, mingling with the air's calm hush. There is no rush in his breath. He does not chase time, he simply moves within it, like a reed bending to water's drift. Here, beneath the laurel silence, the day stretches like a soft ribbon, and the world prepares, not to be conquered, but to be understood. As the light deepens in hue and the horizon folds gently into itself, even the smallest sounds, a distant cicada, the creak of bark, becomes sacred. And Heracles listens. Nothing in this place resists. Everything waits, and that waiting is its own kind of welcome. You lie back with the image of him there, walking softly, eyes steady, the land alive around him, and a calmness settles. In your chest, you don't need to know what he'll do next. You only need to rest in this moment of quiet arrival. Beyond a gentle rise in the land, where olive groves thin into open field, the stables begin to reveal themselves. They do not declare their presence. They do not gleam. They simply exist as if they have always been there, waiting behind the slow breath of seasons. Their walls are broad and low, not crumbling but settled, as if the stones themselves have grown roots and chosen not to move. Light dust clings to every surface, softening the angles, blurring the edges, muting the memory of effort. No animals stir within. No clatter, no bray, no echo of hoof. Only the layered hush of straw and soil, of wood swollen with time. Heracles approaches without disturbance. The gates stand ajar, not from force, but from a kind of surrender, like hands opened palm up to the sun. As he passes within, his gaze travels over vast corridors lined with feeding troughs, now filled with dust instead of grain. The air carries the memory of hay, of patient chewing, of slow hours wrapped in warmth and shadow. What filth remains here is not offensive. It is soft, muted, woven into the landscape like sediment in riverbed. Time has made it gentle. This is no scene of chaos. It is simply a place where things were not cleared, where the past was allowed to rest undisturbed. Heracles does not recoil, he observes. His hands remain still at his sides. He walks the length of one long aisle, where faint shafts of light slip through high wooden slats, turning dust motes into falling stars. There is something sacred in the stillness, not the kind carved into temple stone, but the quiet reverence of forgotten labor, the kind that once fed animals, then faded. In the deepest part of the stables, he stops. A beam of light falls upon a curved wooden beam above, carved with symbols so worn they seem like wind patterns rather than script. Perhaps they once told a story. Perhaps now they are only part of the silence. The task is known. It has been named. Yet it does not sit on Heracles like a burden. It waits within him like a question not yet asked aloud. Clean this place in a single day, they had said. But time here has no urgency. The stables do not cry for change. They simply are. He crouches, pressing his palm to the packed earth. It is warm, not from sun, but from depth, the warmth of something that has held memory long and without bitterness. His eyes close for a moment. He does not summon a solution. He listens. Outside, the breeze turns slightly. It carries the distant sound of water, a meandering hush, as if two rivers are speaking in tones too soft to hear. He opens his eyes. There is no broom in his hand, no great plan unfurling, just the image of water and earth meeting, as they always have, when neither resists. He stands once more. The stables remain unchanged. Yet something in the air has shifted, not in scent or sound, but in attention, as if the space itself has begun to listen back. Heracles walks toward the open gate again, not to leave the task behind, but to see it from another view. The stables do not protest. They remain exactly as they are. And in that stillness, possibility breathes. You rest with that image. A place once crowded, now silent and sunlit, and feel your own thoughts soften. Nothing here rushes, nothing demands. You are allowed, like the stables, to simply remain. Two rivers meander through the lands near Elis. They do not crash or leap, but wind like threads of silk through fields of whispering grasses. The Alpheus and the Pineus, old as the stars that once mirrored in their waters, now glide in steady rhythm, never meeting, yet always aware of one another. Their presence is not grand. They are not wide. They do not roar. They murmur. They hum. They carve quiet paths in the earth, their edges softened by moss and the breath of reeds. Birds dip low to drink. Sunlight flutters across their ripples like drifting lace. Heracles sits near the bank of the nearest stream, not to drink, not to plan, but to witness. His elbows rest on his knees, his hands loose. The river beside him trickles past without hesitation. It does not pause to question its shape. It simply moves, as it always has. The grasses around him sway without concern. A dragonfly spins silently. Above the water's surface, beneath, small fish linger in the shadows of pebbles. Everything here is without conflict. Even change is gentle. The air is warm and fragrant, not sharp, but full. The sweetness of earth after a long breath. Heracles leans forward slightly and touches the water. It is cool, but not cold. A presence without weight. The current does not resist his fingers. It slides past them, as if acknowledging their place without needing to move around them. He draws a line in the silt with one fingertip. It vanishes within seconds, claimed by the passing stream. Nothing is held, nothing clings, and in that moment, something stirs, not within the water, but within him. He does not speak aloud. There is no need. The rivers do not require words, but his thought moves outward, quiet as breath. Could you go where you have not gone? Could your rhythm bend for just a day? The breeze picks up, lifting a thin veil of mist from the water's surface. It drifts across the reeds, then rises, almost imperceptibly, like steam from a cooling bowl. And though the rivers do not reply, there is something attentive in the stillness that follows, as if they heard, as if they are thinking in their own unspoken way. He stands again. The sun, higher now, lays a path of light upon the water, turning its surface to shifting gold. He watches its journey, not straight, but curving, always curving. There is wisdom in that. Somewhere in the distance, a heron lifts slowly into the air. It does not rush, its wings wide and soft. The wind carries it low across the water's path, a quiet arc in a wide sky. Heracles turns his face slightly to the breeze. He does not smile, but there is a lightness in his breath. The rivers are not obstacles, they are not tools, they are beings. And beings may listen when approached with care. He kneels one last time, trailing his fingers once more through the flow. Then he rises, and without any signal, begins to walk. Not away from the river, and not toward the stables, but along the space between, where water, air, and earth meet in balance. You let your mind follow that river now. Cool, clear, patient. You do not need to steer. It carries you gently, like it carries time itself. There is no destination, only movement without force. In the soft mid-morning light, Heracles walks with his shadow gently stretched beside him. The earth beneath his feet is a tapestry of mud and stone, woven with the memories of hooves long gone and rainfall long absorbed. The stables now rest. Behind him, quiet and patient, while the rivers hum to themselves beyond the curve of the hills. Between them lies the path, not of labor, but of noticing. He pauses where the soil turns dark and rich beneath a low incline. There, the scent of water lives quietly in the ground, whispering of yesterday's mist and the slow seep of underground springs. He crouches once more, fingertips grazing the mud, and lifts them again, studying how the sunlight catches on the particles clinging to his skin. Mud, not filth, not waste, but earth in conversation with water. It does not resist form, it accepts. It shapes itself to every curve, then softens even the sharpest line. Heracles draws a slow spiral in the wet ground with one finger. The line holds a moment, then fades. He watches it dissolve without regret. He does not reach for tools, not yet. A wooden spade leans against a nearby post, untouched. Instead, he looks again to the slope above him, and the rivers that travel beyond it. Their gentle paths are distant, but near enough to feel like a thought held lightly behind the eyes. Above, a soft layer of cloud dims the sun just enough to silver the air. Heracles closes his eyes. He does not command the rivers, he invites them. The idea forms not in words, but in rhythm. If water can shape stone, it can cleanse memory. Not through force, but through quiet insistence. He opens his eyes again, not with decision, but with ease. The plan does not unfold. It emerges, like mist from a warmed hill, a path from river to stable, following the natural curve of the land. He traces it with his gaze. There is no need to alter the land drastically, only to listen for its inclination, and gently guide what already wishes to move. Mud, in its silence, has been speaking this entire time. It does not cry for removal. It calls for return to water, to breath, to balance. Heracles stands, and for the first time, places his hand on the old wooden spade. Not to dig a trench, not to carve the earth apart, but to draw a path where water may wish to wander. He walks slowly, marking the ground with the tip of the tool, like a painter sketching a first line upon canvas. The soil yields easily. It has waited for this. There is no resistance, only the soft sigh of earth parting under wooden edge. As he works, light filters through the clouds in golden strands, resting upon his shoulders, catching the curve of his brow. He does not sweat, he does not strain. His movement is slow, meditative. The shovel rises, glides, and settles again. A single leaf drifts down, catching on a curve in the shallow trench. It spins gently, like a tiny boat finding its current. And in that movement, something in the world exhales. From a distance, the stables watch in silence. Their long walls are like old arms stretched open. They do not expect change, but they will welcome it. Heracles lifts his eyes once more. The trench is not long, it is not deep, but it follows the slope with the grace of understanding. When water comes, it will not resist. Let your mind drift. Now to that faint line in the earth, soft, slow, and waiting. It is not a divide, it is an invitation. Like sleep itself, it asks nothing from you, except to allow. Somewhere between the stables and the distant bend of river, the trench now glimmers faintly in the softening sun. It is not a canal, not a grand work of engineering. It is a suggestion, a shape offered to the land, and now offered to the water. Heracles does not summon the river. He walks to its edge once more, as he did before, and kneels by the current. The water does not stop for him. It flows past, smooth and clear, as if humming a melody no one composed. He places a hand upon a flat stone beside it, feeling its quiet rhythm. The long patience of stone, the slow caress of water. Then he lowers a piece of driftwood into the stream, not as a command, but as an offering. It turns once, then floats along the current. He watches it go, and in watching, releases the last part of doing. Now, there is only being. The river, for a moment, seems to sense the path drawn in the soil. Perhaps not with thought, but with attunement, the way birds know wind or vines seek the sun. The water, always searching for its way, begins to drift, slightly, gently toward the shallow cut in the land. At first, it is only a glisten, a damp darkening of the soil at the trench's mouth. Then a ripple, light as silk, spilling over the edge. The current enters the new path, not as a torrent, but as a visitor, curious, soft-footed. The stream slips forward, slow and sure. It curves where the trench curves. It widens where the earth invites it. And behind it, more water follows. Not in force, but in procession, like a melody expanding into harmony. Heracles steps aside, allowing it room. He does not walk alongside it. He lets it move on its own, honoring its flow. There is no fanfare, no moment of completion, only motion, unhurried, unquestioned. As the water winds toward the stables, its surface reflects the low arc of the sun. Shadows of reeds ripple upon it. The land, once dry and dusted with age, begins to breathe again. Where filth once clung to stone and straw, now the water moves, lifting, loosening, washing not just the ground, but the weight of all that had lingered too long. The stables make no sound. but something within them begins to change. A lightness gathers in the air. Old dust rises and drifts away in the quiet wind. Pools form, then drain. The scent shifts from stagnant stillness to fresh soil, to clean wood touched by breeze. Heracles does not claim the act. He does not watch for approval. He only rests a hand against the trunk of a tree nearby and listens to the murmur of water meeting earth. It is not loud, it is not sudden, but it is enough. In time, the river will return to its course. The trench will dry, but something within the land will remain washed, not just in form, but in memory. The kind of memory that lives in tree rings and quiet mornings, in moss that returns to stone year after year. The stone he touched earlier is now surrounded by ripples. They travel outward, like breath expanding across a quiet room. Each ripple a wordless echo. Each echo a moment of listening, answered. You float with that image now. A river curving where no one forced it. The land sighing in return. Let it carry you without edge or urgency. Like water that knows how to find its way. The water moves now through the stables, not as a flood, but as a guest, long awaited. It winds softly between the stone aisles, through wooden gates swollen with age, beneath rafters where cobwebs dance in the light. There is no clash of sound, no sharp scent, no upheaval, only flow, gentle and continuous, like breath in a dreaming body. The filth of decades, not angry, not vile, but simply long present, loosens beneath its touch. Clumps fall away with barely a sigh, melting into the stream as if they were always meant to return to the earth. The stables do not shudder, they do not groan, they exhale. Heracles walks slowly behind the water's edge, his footsteps light upon dampened straw. He does not steer it. He does not judge what it takes or leaves. He watches as one watches. Rainfall with acceptance, with quiet. In one stall, a tangle of hay long collapsed now lifts and flows outward like golden threads released from their knot. In another, a feeding trough, once choked with dust, glimmers beneath the water's passing, its carved lip revealing shapes unseen for years. Perhaps a laurel, perhaps a lion, now softened by time and water's grace. The hooves that once stood here are gone. Their echoes remain, not in sound, but in the roundness of the dirt where they pressed, in the smoothness of the wooden rails rubbed over countless years. The animals are not forgotten. Their presence has become part of the walls, of the beams, of the scent that rises faintly, warm and calm, like sunlit fur. The water turns no corner in haste. It glides, it lingers, it pauses in hollows, as if remembering. Heracles steps aside again, allowing it to pass into the farthest reach of the stables. Here, where even the spiders had grown still, the flow, pools, clear and silver, before slipping once more into movement. A soft breeze enters through the open gates. It carries with it the scent of wet stone, of lavender trampled by the river's birth. Light filters in through the high slats above, touching the water's surface and scattering it in thousands of reflections. Each one dances on a beam, on a post, on the quiet floor, not to dazzle but to soothe. The stables shimmer like something exhaled from a dream. He leans gently against a post, not out of weariness, but with the ease of one who trusts the moment to unfold. The task, if it could still be called that, is now beyond him. It has taken on its own rhythm, like lullaby drifting from an unseen lyre. The work is no longer doing, it is becoming. As the last of the refuse slips away in the current, the water clears. No longer clouded, It glows faintly with light from above. The floor beneath is smooth. The stone shines with a softened polish, gifted not by scrubbing, but by patience. There is no audience, no applause, only stillness. And in that stillness, Heracles bows his head, not to celebrate, but to acknowledge the silence that remains. Above him, a bird lands on a rafter, silent and calm. It does not sing, it simply rests. And below, the last ripples settle into a soft, steady pool. Let this image cradle your thoughts. Water moving without demand, cleansing not just places, but memories. You, too, are allowed to be still. You, too, are allowed to be washed in quiet. The light has shifted now, settling into the amber hush that lingers just before evening. The stables breathe quietly beneath it, no longer heavy with time, but softened by its passage. The water, having done all it came to do, pools in shallow places and slips gently back into the earth, leaving behind no trail, no trace, only clarity. Heracles stands at the far end of the corridor, where once the scent of waste hung in silence. Now the air carries something different. A trace of pine from the grove beyond, the sweetness of hay touched by wind, and something subtler still. The kind of freshness that comes not from something added, but from what has been let go. He walks slowly through the quiet structure. His hand brushes against the wooden rails, smooth from years of use. The touch is met with warmth, not from heat, but from memory. The stables have seen generations pass through them, hooves resting, noses nuzzling grain, eyes blinking slowly in the morning dark. All of it still lives here, not as burden, but as rhythm. In the farthest stall, the shadows are soft and long. Dust rises with each step like moths from tall grass. Heracles pauses there. The space is empty, but full. He lowers himself to one knee and closes his eyes, not to pray, not to reflect, but simply to share silence with the place. The walls feel closer now, not from crowding, but from listening. Their presence is no longer weight, it is cradle. These stables do not stand as monuments to labor. They hold the softness of rest. They have learned how to stay still, even through storms. And now, having been cleansed, they return to their truest form, shelter. A shaft of light angles through a break in the wood, catching a spider's thread stretched between two beams. It glows, silver and fine, swaying just slightly in the quiet air. The web remains untouched. It was never a threat, never a tangle, only a trace of quiet artistry suspended in shadow. Heracles opens his eyes and watches the thread dance. Then he rises, brushing the dust gently from his knee. Outside, the wind sighs low through tall grasses. Somewhere, a sheep bleats faintly, not in alarm, but in answer to nothing in particular. He steps outside the stable door and turns once, to look back. The building stands just as it did before, wide, humble, unadorned. Yet now it gleams faintly beneath the amber light, its surface damp and clean, its silence fuller than before. He does not mark the moment as finished. There is nothing to end. The act was never a task. It was a return of water to earth, of motion to stillness, of presence to place. The stables dream now, not of past glories, not of lost sounds, but of breath and light and the hush between footfalls. They dream because they have space, again to do so. Above, the sky deepens to lavender, with strokes of rose and pale gold feathering its edge. Birds make their way across it in slow, deliberate arcs. The air holds warmth, but no weight. Heracles begins to walk again, not away, not toward, just walking. As clouds drift without destination, as rivers wind without plan, let yourself drift now through that amberlit space, a place made still by gentleness, not force. Like the stables, your thoughts need no sweeping, only a breath, only a pause. The last light of day slips gently across the horizon, not fading, but folding into dusk. The land rests beneath it, untroubled, as though it too exhales with the sun. Heracles walks now at the edge of the field, where the grasses bend with the breeze and the river hums, a lullaby to the gathering stars. Behind him, the stables remain still, unspoken, washed in the quiet blush of twilight. He does not look back often. He does not need to. The water has carried what was needed. The rest, like dust in the wind, has returned to sleep. The rivers, Alpheus and Peneus, continue their winding journey. They do not claim the change. They do not announce what they have done. They simply move, shaped by nothing but time, following curves softened by centuries of listening. Their waters shimmer now in pale lavender and silver, reflecting a sky that slowly forgets the shape of day. Heracles steps into their path once more, not to cross, but to pause. He kneels, cupping the cool stream in his hands. It drips through his fingers, tracing lines down his wrists, leaving no trace but a softness on his skin. He watches it go down, down into the grass, into the earth, into everything. There is no reward to collect, no pronouncement, no crown. The rivers do not cheer, the stables do not bow, and Heracles does not expect them to. What has happened is quieter than praise, more enduring than names. He stands again and watches a small leaf float past, turning slowly in the current. Its path is uncertain, yet it never stops. It drifts, it glides, it surrenders to where the water wishes to carry it. And in that surrender, it finds its rhythm. The air cools gently around him. From the hills, the first stars begin to appear, tentative but sure. They do not rush. They arrive the way memories return in dreams, lightly, with no need for explanation. The trench he shaped is now only a damp ribbon in the soil, already beginning to settle back into the land. Grass will grow along its edge. Birds will nest nearby. Rain will come and go. And yet, the act of cleaning, the act of offering motion to stillness, will remain, not in shape, but in spirit. Even when the water is gone, its touch lingers. Heracles does not speak. There is no need. The rivers say all there is to say, and they do so in the gentlest tongue. He follows their sound for a while longer, walking beside them until their song becomes one with the breeze, until the earth grows dusky and quiet. He sits beside a sycamore tree where moonlight falls in. Wide, soft beams. His hands rest on his knees. His eyes drift upward toward the sky where constellations wait without expectation. His breath is steady, his presence complete. The night deepens, the rivers glide onward, and somewhere beyond words, the stables still dream. Let your breath follow this flow now, not forward, not back, just ever onward, like water through stone. You are part of it. There is no end. Only the quiet continuation of all things that move gently. Now, all is still. You rest beside the slow hush of riverbank, where the night has deepened into a velvet silence. The stables lie far behind you, clean and quiet, wrapped in the soft breath of dusk. But you do not need to return to them. They have been tended, gently, completely, and now they sleep, as you do. You breathe in, and the scent of cool stone and damp grass settles around you. The earth is soft beneath your spine, the sky vast above, holding space for every thought to stretch, and then soften, and then dissolve. You imagine the water still moving, a silver thread meandering through fields, through stables, through time itself. It does not rush. It does not stop. It simply moves, carrying away what no longer needs to be held, leaving only clarity behind. You are part of that flow now. There is nothing to fix, nothing to chase. The task is done, not with force, but with listening, not with struggle, but with breath. And as your own breath deepens, you begin to feel it, the ease that comes when nothing is demanded. The stars above you do not shine to be noticed. They shine because it is their way. You, too, may shine quietly, from within, without effort, without sound. Let your body grow heavier, sinking into the earth like roots, beneath the laurel trees. Let your thoughts loosen like the last leaf of twilight drifting downstream. Let the river within you carry everything, not away, but gently forward, where all things are already understood. You are clean, you are still, you are part of something wider than words. There is no more story to follow, only this feeling, and even that can be let go. Sleep now, as the rivers sleep, as the land sleeps, as Heracles rests beneath the sycamore tree, washed, whole, and held by the hush of night. Good night.